Hi everyone, my name is Aisha Jawed, and I am a consultant at the Graduate Writing Center here at Teachers College. Welcome to an introductory overview on conference presentations. Before we begin, take a moment to write down a response to the following question. What do you hope to gain from this session? In this session, we will learn to design conference and proposal materials after consolidating information on a research topic. We will develop an understanding of the different kinds of conference presentations that include paper and poster sessions, roundtable, symposium, and workshop. And we will identify components of a strong conference presentation across different formats that involve reaching and addressing a specific target audience and conducting a question and answer session successfully. Let's begin by determining a conference theme from a reading selection. Take a moment to read the first 2 pages of the call for submission from this year's American Education Research Association conference. Determine the key points from the reading to help inform identification of a conference theme. So let's take a moment to review the key points from the reading selection about public education from the call for submission. It represents a quest for opportunities and equality across diverse population of learners. The call for submission fosters community cohesion by encouraging active discussion through sharing diverse perspectives and joining efforts to increase access to public education for all learners. It is filled with creativity, inspiration, enlightenment, and endless possibilities that could make the impossible potentially achievable. The call for submission presents opportunities to advance tools, methods, and resources to increase access to public education for all groups of learners, especially marginalized populations in resource-limited settings. It encourages the acquisition of new knowledge through evidence-based research and practice to expand dimensions of public education and promote cultural sensitivity and competency in the process. It involves studying past and present successes and failures as well as current practices across global education systems to inform expansion of services, programs, and resources in public education. And lastly, the call for submission adapts provisions to meet the needs of our current generation of all learners. So after reflecting on the key points from the first 2 pages of this call for submission, the conference theme that resonates is identifying gaps and challenges in public education by taking into consideration contemporary and controversial issues, historical background, and roles and responsibilities of educators and learners. So whenever we use a conference theme, it is important that the conference theme inform all parts of a conference proposal and be threaded throughout a conference presentation. There are multiple styles of presentations that generally fall into 2 primary categories, which are paper and open sessions. Here are some guiding questions to think about as we discuss each kind of session format for presentation delivery. What are the different kinds of session formats? How is each format different and unique? What are the presentation demands required of each format? How would you connect the oral presentation to the theme in each format? In the next part of our session, we will take a moment to discuss the most frequently used formats for both paper and open session presentations. As you can see, the roundtable format is present in both paper and open sessions, but it is represented differently in both kinds of sessions. A structured poster in an open session is different in style and delivery from a poster presentation during a paper session. So let's begin by first describing a paper session format in a paper session presentation. The presentation style in a paper session is adapted from your research paper and serves as an abridged version of your research paper. The slides in a paper session follow the organization and structure of your research paper. A paper session offers plenty of time for comments and critique towards the end of your presentation. In general, paper sessions are less interactive with the audience since they are primarily delivered in lecture format. However, they provide plenty of time to engage with the audience in a question and answer session following the presentation. The slides in a paper session contain key points, and the emphasis is on the verbal delivery of information that expands on each key point. Overall, a paper session is a more structured presentation style with time allocation constraints and potential time markers that are indicated on the slide. You could share anecdotes and examples connected to each key point listed on the slide with illustrative headers to engage the audience during your paper session presentation. The theme that is described in the introduction and conclusion, as well as referenced throughout the presentation, is connected to the objectives of the paper session. Next, let's take a moment to discuss a poster session format in a paper session presentation. A poster session reflects a graphic display of your research material and provides a visual representation of the synthesized information. The objectives on your poster align with a written theme that is indicated in a later section of the poster more clearly. Generally, you can stand beside your poster for approximately 90 minutes in a large room that is surrounded by other posters. The audience can walk around and can engage with you about your research from anywhere ranging between 2 to 90 minutes, the minimum to maximum amount of time. When speaking, present the pertinent highlights of your research within a couple minutes. Provide an introductory overview of your project that includes your research questions, followed by your hypotheses, summary of your methodology, results, findings, and conclusions, as well as future directions and clinical and research implications. Anticipate that your presentation is not over and will be followed by questions from the audience that you will respond to, which will likely open up room for more discussion on your research. Be confident and comfortable knowing that you have expertise and have invested a lot of time on your research. It's totally okay not to have all the answers to questions that are asked by the audience. When stumped by a question, a perfect response will be to say, "Well, that is a really good question. I'm not quite sure, but it is definitely something that has the potential to be explored in future research, maybe as an expansion or extension or future direction of my current research." Next, we will discuss a roundtable session format in a paper session presentation. The design of a roundtable session is a table configuration that consists of approximately 3 to 4 people and a chair representative who serves as an expert on your research topic. A roundtable session involves interaction and active discussion of original research papers pertaining to your research topic among the group members who are seated at the table. And generally, 10 to 30 roundtable presentations can take place simultaneously at any given time during a roundtable session. Also, during a roundtable session presentation, be confident and comfortable when engaging with the audience and other presenters, and feel prepared to actively discuss how your research paper relates to current and ongoing research. Reflect on how your findings have implications for future clinical and research directions, and overall, keep in mind that the theme in this session is to find ways that your paper connects with other papers on the same research topic. We have concluded our overview of the 3 most frequently kinds of session formats that are found in paper session presentations. We will now begin with an overview of the most frequently used formats in open session presentations, beginning with demonstration. It involves a performance style with the delivery of information that you are trying to convey. A demonstration is very expressive since it shows and models features that you are attempting to convey to the audience. And it places emphasis on body language, facial expressions, intonation, and diction. A demonstration is a dynamic style since it integrates diverse modalities to make a point. The narration by a presenter or facilitator is central throughout a demonstration session, and it does not place importance on audio and visual materials, since the focus is on the presenter. Next, let's take a moment to discuss an off-site visit session during an open session presentation. An off-site visit involves visiting a field site to learn firsthand about a specific topic. Examples of field sites include schools, laboratories, museums, and parks. Observation is the primary learning modality with the ultimate goal to experience something during your field visit. During your off-site visitation session, immerse yourself by actively engaging in conversation with people at the field site to maximize your learning experience. During your off-site visit session, explain the setting and framework for your research to people at the field site. Select a field site based on the theme that resonates throughout your research. After your site visit, debrief with your team members, instructors or professors, friends or family, etc. This is a very important part of an off-site visitation session, since it promotes self-care and thoughtful reflection, especially if you encounter sensitive information from observations and conversations during your field visit, which could potentially be distressing and troubling, and you may not know how to make sense of it. These are all reasons to process your experience from the site visit by debriefing. It's kind of like receiving psychological first aid. And it will help you tease out the most pertinent, relevant information from your site visit that helps contribute to your understanding of your research topic. Next, let's take a moment to discuss a structured poster session in an open session presentation. Generally, a structured poster consists of 6 to 12 posters at any given time during the session. A structured poster provides a visual and graphic presentation on your research topic. A chair representative is present and provides an overview on the research topic and describes the themes that trail across the posters. Then, the chair representative facilitates grouping all of the posters in a systematic way. A structured poster session promotes in-depth discussion among the presenters and the audience. It encourages presenters to engage with the audience in a question and answer session on the research topic. And it guides presenters to make and describe connections across their research papers to the audience, given the greater number of posters present. Next, let's take a moment to discuss a symposium format in an open session presentation. A symposium elicits active discussion on a complex and multifaceted problem through enlisting different perspectives. The format of a symposium session generally involves 3 to 6 people engaging in a 90-minute session, or could involve 7 people participating during a 120-minute session. The presenters and facilitator discuss their research papers and identify themes and pertinent findings across their papers that connect them to one another systematically during the symposium session. The slides in a symposium contain key points, and emphasis is on verbal delivery of information that expands on each key point. Overall, a symposium session is a more structured presentation style with time allocation constraints and potential time markers that are indicated on the slides. During a symposium, a presenter could share anecdotes and examples that are connected to each key point listed on the slides with illustrative headers to engage the audience throughout the session. Next, let's take a moment to describe a roundtable session during an open session presentation. It is a format that involves communication and exchange of information on your research topic within a small group setting. So now let's take a moment to discuss a workshop session format in an open session presentation. The length of a workshop presentation is fairly brief, and the style of a workshop offers plenty of time for interaction among the participants. It may be helpful to generate in advance some guiding questions to facilitate discussion among the participants present at the workshop. A workshop session promotes active discussion and encourages participants to exchange information by sharing their perspectives on the research problem. And lastly, a workshop places emphasis on keeping participants engaged in describing and addressing the research problem. So now that we have concluded our general overview of the most frequently used session formats during both paper and open session presentations, let's take a quick moment to discuss how to effectively integrate a question and answer session in any of the presentation formats. So prior to conducting your question and answer session, it is helpful to anticipate questions that the audience may potentially ask pertaining to your research and to mentally prepare potential responses to those questions. During a question and answer session, actively listen to the questions that are posed by the audience and thoughtfully reflect before providing responses to any of the questions. Remember that the audience is also a resource that you can draw on when struggling with answering a question. Be comfortable knowing that you will not have responses to every question that is posed by the audience, which is totally okay. And appreciate that future research may help answer or resolve those questions. So now we will review the key components that are present in a successful presentation. So a topic across all presentation formats will be relevant, significant, and appropriate, and will be relevant to a conference theme as well as your organization goals, and could likely appeal to a wide variety of participants with the potential to reach a larger audience. The topic will also be significant, with implications to have a larger scale impact across the participants and the community globally. The purpose of an effective, successful presentation will support the purpose of the conference as well as the conference theme. A presentation will have purposes and objectives that will outline clear and specific outcomes and takeaway points. A presentation will also contain very concrete, specified, and measurable objectives that will be met throughout the presentation, and will also describe next steps, future directions, and expansions and extensions that could be part of future research. A successful presentation will integrate a well-defined topic and abstract that will be similar in many ways to a conference proposal. The topic and abstract will be clearly delineated and descriptive, and the format of an abstract as well as the presentation will be aligned with the goals of your session. It is important to select a session format that will most likely help you achieve your research goals and objectives. The abstract, explaining your research topic and the work that you did as part of your research project, will be insightful and will encourage thoughtful reflection and discussion that will also carry through your presentation and question and answer session. In the last section of our session, we will explore an example of a conference proposal. Generally, the length of a conference proposal will be approximately one paragraph, and the style of a conference proposal will be similar in some ways to an abstract. So here's an example of a conference proposal that I had written recently pertaining to my research on exploring whether health beliefs can serve as a predictor of antihypertensive medication adherence among adolescents with chronic kidney disease. So this is the first part of a session description that I had written as part of the conference proposal, which is one paragraph in length total. So this project is a cross-sectional study that explored whether health beliefs held by adolescents with chronic kidney disease and their caregivers are associated with adherence with antihypertensive medications using data collected from a longitudinal study through the Johns Hopkins Adherence Research Center. As part of a comprehensive psychosocial assessment, demographic and illness characteristics, health beliefs, and adherence measures were collected. Statistical analyses included descriptive statistics, nonparametric correlations, reliability analyses, and measures of agreement using SPSS. To examine differences in adherence by age post-hoc, a median split divided the adolescent participants into two age groups, 11 to 14 years of age as well as 15 to 19 years of age. Statistical comparisons between the age groups were made using chi-square tests, t-tests, and ANOVA analyses. So this is a sample that could potentially be used in both a paper or an open session, and could be presented in either paper, poster, structured poster, or symposium formats. The entire session description highlights the pertinence of the research project. This first part of the session description describes the project, the methodology employed, and the statistical analyses performed in the project. So now let's review the second part of the session description, also part of one paragraph. Through this session, we will explore how adolescent outcome expectancies are correlated with adolescent-reported and objectively measured adherence, and therefore how adolescent health beliefs can serve as a predictor of adherence. We will also discuss how future research can expand exploration of caregiver health beliefs as a relevant construct to represent adherence among younger and older adolescents globally, given that our findings could not establish significance as theoretically predicted. Since our findings reflect that chance may be a part of the mixed agreement between adolescent and caregiver-reported adherence, and between self-reported and objectively measured adherence, we will describe how using subjective and objective measures of adherence simultaneously could measure adherence comprehensively. Given that health beliefs may be a modifiable risk factor among adolescents, health beliefs may serve as a target for intervention to promote adherence in the adolescent population with CKD, with chronic kidney disease, as well as across a wide range of acute and chronic health conditions to improve health outcomes. So as you can see, the second part of the same paragraph describes the objectives for the session pertaining to how findings from this research project will be further explored during the session. So overall, the entire session description, consisting of one paragraph, builds on the conference theme and places emphasis on this theme throughout the description, as well as particularly at the conclusion of this paragraph. Thank you for joining us today in this webinar on conference presentations and proposals. Good luck with designing presentation materials to showcase your research in the near future.